Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for joining me on this special Saturday edition of, I don't know, what's on the table? I don't know, what should you call it? We'll go with that. Hey, I got something new from Miguron Knives, and I wanted to share it with you. This is the Koraki, which means raven or crow, depending on where you get your translation. I watched this thing go from sketches to completed knife, and I'm really into this. Now, you guys know that I've been sort of working with Sam over at Miguron Knives. He has produced some of my favorite knives over the last few months that have dropped. Just good stuff, right? All the way around. Now, the Pagos here, some of them did have some issues. He learned a little bit, for instance, using a single screw to hold the pocket clip down. Probably wasn't the best idea, but he has since corrected that. There is a full tie version of the Pagos coming out where they have worked on seating the clip into the full tie a little bit better than it seats into the carbon fiber here, and I'm really looking forward to that. This is just a great knife, but I could use some updates, and I think he's done that. So we'll keep you posted on the new Pagos. The Valona here is a DC-53 bladed knife. It is a big, beautiful beast. This is a great knife also. I love this thing. The Vaso. The first one of these that I got was all blacked out. That's the review that I had. He has since sent me this plain blade version, and this thing is gorgeous. Look at this. Now these two are front flippers. This one is flipper, and of course you can also deploy with the fuller. I love this knife. This has been in my pocket a ton. I love the plain blade on the DC-53 steel, which by the way is just sort of a fancy D2, but I'm cool with any, do a little variety. This is just very comfortable too. It's a great knife. So when you started posting and sharing pictures of the coming Koraki with me, the first thing I noticed was this amazing grind. It is interesting. It is also a razor blade up here at the tip, but it thickens out. The swell is right here so that it doesn't become, it's not brittle. It's not, you're not going to damage it. The knife itself is very well put together. The milling on the tie scales is really nice. It is a frame lock, as you can see, and we're locked up at about 40%. The clip is nice. It's got good retention and good spring. It fits in the pocket very well, and it's actually screwed in from the back. It uses this body screw to go all the way through and hold the clip in, which is a nice touch. It's got the Miguron Knives laser etched pivot on this side, and on this side it's got his sort of traditional, on his fancier knives, sort of bronzed pivot ring, which you may or may not like. I think it's fine. The knife itself is very comfortable. It is a front flipper, which is sort of his thing right now, but the front flip works very well. And this is S90V. Now, some people love that, some people don't. I love my S90V knives. This one is, well, it seems to be done very, very well. It came razor sharp from the factory. I paid for this, and that's the best part. This is under $200 for full tie ceramic bearings, S90V blade, full tie backspacer, well, a tie backspacer. It's just a great pocket knife. He's done a really nice job. I'll post a link to his Ali store, to White Mountain Knives, and to his website, all three in the description. You can check that out at your leisure. I do want to spend a couple of more minutes on the grind on this. Now, when I first saw pictures of this, I assumed that it was going to be thicker at the tip and thinner back here, which is how a lot of people do this sort of compound grind. He decided to go a different route, and I, at first, was like, yeah, but it turns out I do most of my cutting with this front edge, and so having this thinned out has served me really well. For harder cuts, push cuts, or big draw cuts, you do have a thicker, although very sharp edge back here. It has a satin flat, right? Where the grind lines go this way, and then the rest of the grind lines follow the blade down towards the secondary bevel, as you can see. I just think it is a complex and interesting blade without being a complex edge, right? Traditional drop point, right? No problems there. Nice belly here at the tip. Everything is crowned. Everything is rounded. There are no sharp edges on this knife except right where you want it. And the milling on the full tie scales does give you really nice grip. And it's a good size. It's not an enormous knife. We're coming in at 7 3/4 inches overall. So it's not a big knife, but because of this relatively neutral handle, it fits my big old hand really, really well. Speaking of that S90V blade, you get 3 1/4 inches of cutting on just a little over 3 1/4 inches overall of S90V. The grip area, from a little bit behind that swell right there, is just a little over 3 1/2, coming up on 3 3/4, which is why it fits me so well. As I mentioned, it's 7 3/4 overall. The closed profile on this thing is a total champ, right? I mean, we're at an inch. This thing just vanishes into the pocket. There's a little jimping right where you want it up here for the front flip, which is a little sharp right around these edges. So, but this is going to be facing the back of your pocket when it's sunk. There is no left-hand carry option on this, which is bummer because they could have milled this out and you could have just swapped the clip. But sorry, so no lefty love there. The only marking on the blade, which is hidden when it's open, is this S90V mark right there. So very, very clean design. No billboarding. It's just nicely done. Let's do some size comparisons against tools you may be more familiar with. Here's against the PM2. And as you can see, the PM2 is a bigger knife, but of course, you get just a little more cutting area with the Koraki here, although you get a lot less handle because it's just smaller. And of course, here it is against our old friend, the Bug Out. And it is just a little bit bigger than the Bug Out, but just in the right ways. A little more blade, right? Little tiny bit more handle. And of course, S90V, which is awesome. Miguron has got 3 or 4 knives coming out in the next year that I am really excited about because he has continued to develop stuff that is just cool to use and to look at, which matters. These are 3 of my favorites. The Pagos is a beautiful knife, but I think when the full tie version drops, it'll probably ramp up. Also, again, because he's repairing the clip issue and he's making some corrections to this design that I think are going to bring it to the next level. The best part is none of these are $200. I mean, the DC53 stuff is 40 bucks. These two are like 39 and 46, I think. This is $187. This is about 180 bucks. For the money, for the materials, you're just getting, I don't know, I really like them. Now, please be aware, unless you get them at White Mountain Knives, which is possible, delivery time from China right now is 3 weeks. And that sucks, but could be worse. Sorry about rocking the table there. If you're looking for a budget knife that fills the hand, by the way, the Valona here is just out of this world. This thing is fantastic. All right, let's weigh it, which is something that we do. Oh, before that, let's see how much of that S90. It's a reasonably thin slice, but it's crowned here at the spine, so it does fool you just a little bit. So this is 127 thousandths, or about 3.5 millimeters, which is not a bad slice of steel. I really, really like the grind lines on this. You know, there's a couple of ways to produce interest in a blade. One, you can do a very complex grind, which he's done a little bit of here. The other is to use the grind lines while grinding the knife to create interest. And I have to say, that they've done that with the Koraki here. They really, really have. There's a lot of visual interest in this blade, and it doesn't interfere with its functionality, which is a very nice touch. Action is very good. All right, let's weigh it out. If our not at all budget scale will do its job. Hey, look at that. 3.6 ounces for an almost 8-inch knife with a 3.25 inch cutting. Where do we land? 3.25? Yeah, 3.25 inches of cutting. You know, it isn't bad. It isn't bad. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that this is a great knife. Particularly for people that are looking to move into higher end materials that don't want to break the bank. Right? S90V, full titanium, ceramic bearings, well thought out, well sorted design. You gotta like a front flipper. But if you do, why don't you go ahead and follow the links down below. I don't get any kickbacks from this or anything, by the way. And most of these, he sends me along a knife once in a while. He sent me this plain blade Valona with this one just because I have helped him name these knives. I named the Koraki here as well. But if you're looking for high-end materials, well designed, well sorted, and well made, you can't go wrong with the new Miguron stuff. Anyway, this is the Miguron Koraki. It is an excellent new front flipping folder from the folks at Miguron. If you have any questions about this knife or any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments below. Check the links if you're interested in one. We'll see you next time.